Welcome to Momming as a Millennial, the podcast where we explore the intersection of tradition and modern parenting. Have you ever felt overwhelmed trying to balance being a mom with your professional aspirations, all while dealing with side-eye from your parents who think you're doing it wrong? Me too. I'm your host, Christine Gerizzo, a journalist, blogger, and proud mama of 2 young children. I'm so glad you're here with me. Together, we can navigate the complexities of millennial motherhood and find what resonates with our true, authentic selves. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of Momming as a Millennial. Today, we are talking about a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time, but I will say I was a little nervous because it's a little on the risque side, and I was scared that maybe I'd get judged or people just wouldn't understand, and also I didn't have the right guest to have this conversation. But today, I have the perfect guest, so I want to go ahead and welcome Jill Barrile. We are going to talk about intimacy and closeness in relationships. So primarily what I want to focus on, because this is what I'm dealing with now, how things change and shift once you start having children. You throw children into the mix and your whole world kind of flips on a dime and everything changes. And it really becomes a challenge to fuel that relationship and make sure that you're putting your partner first. So, Jill.
Yeah. I love
Welcome.
it. I'm excited.
So I'll just give a little background and then you can go ahead and take it from there.
Sure.
She is a boudoir photographer and recently became a certified intimacy and relationship coach.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also a certified sex educator. Yeah. And trained in the somatica. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Method of coaching, which is focused on intimacy and sexual health.
Yes.
So, So let's get right into it. I would love if you could share a little bit about your background, your specialty, how you got here.
I know. All the things. So many things. So my work started I've been doing photography for 15 years, kind of niched down into boudoir photography probably about, it was like during COVID, because all my other work was doing like everything at that point. And it was like, I was sort of wanting to shift into boudoir, and then COVID happened, and then all the events and all the things I would do outside of that kind of like weren't available. And then actually boudoir like just got so busy. Like people just were, they're not going on vacation. They're like at home contemplating their lives, I think a lot.
Money to spend.
Yeah, the money to spend. And it was like just a perfect time to kind of pivot into that world a lot more in depth, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of like where I was starting to lead myself essentially into the boudoir world. And so I've been doing that more probably so it's 2025, 5 years more intimately. And the intimacy coaching kind of came out of doing boudoir more. And like what was happening in those sessions were like, before it was like, we're just taking photos. We'd connect a little bit, but then it was like, they're turning into therapy sessions and we're talking about our relationships and breakups, because a lot of times people come to me, everyone's like, oh, I won't do it. I have no one to do that for. And it's like most of my clients come after a breakup because they want to feel good, or they're like transitioning and changing chapters. So like in motherhood, even too, of like, I just had a baby and I want to feel good in my body. And so there was a lot of like intimate conversations I was having with my clients. And so that kind of got me excited to like, I wish I could help them more. I wish I could like facilitate their growth and their excitement to like, be more, have this like intimate experience into the boudoir world, but like, how do we bring it into our everyday life more? And so that's kind of got me curious into the sex and intimacy coaching. And I started my certification with somatica. It was like 2.5 years ago now. So it was a really intense program for 2 years. Wow. It kind of like gave me everything I kind of needed to know.
Makes sense. That's a very deep well.
Yeah, it was a deep well. And it was cool because it actually was really empowering to be around so many people that were sex positive. I had about 100 people on this online class that we were in, and like we got intimate, like these complete strangers on it, like that we met in these classes. But it was really empowering to be around so many people that were like, no, sex is important, intimacy is important, knowing ourselves is important. And now there's many of us in the world that are like advocating for that. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but
awesome.
yeah, so that's kind of the short and skinny, I guess, of it all.
So what came first, the intimacy training or the sex education, or was it like all together?
They're in the same program, essentially. Yeah. So they tell you can label yourself as anything you want besides like a sex therapist. But sex education has always been really important to me. Growing up, not really having it, I was a Catholic schoolgirl through and through for all of my education. Yeah. And so like, I think having that lack was part of that curiosity of wanting to like make sure people know like what's available and, you know, not necessarily good for them, but like just other options for them that are healthy and safe and how to have relationships. They kind of all intertwine with each other. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I've talked about it on the podcast a few times. I was raised Italian Catholic, and we had no talk of that. It was no sex before marriage, and that was the end of the conversation. Yeah. So I think it kind of leaves like a vacancy to really understand what you're capable of, what you want in life, what you crave, what you value, that kind of stuff. It was just never discussed.
Yeah. I think it's because a lot of us don't know how to have the conversation. And I think that was a big part of what I loved about where I was training was like, it really teaches us how to have intimate conversations, whether it's about like wanting to get tied up to like just, okay, we want to have like a conversation that feels more, you know, vulnerable and stuff. And I think we don't have those often or know how to even have them.
Yeah. For sure.
That's so cool.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So the somatica trained piece, like what exactly does that mean?
Yeah. So what I got trained through is called the Somatica Institute. So it's these two women. They basically had their PhDs in relationship studies and were like basically working with clients and noticing that like a lot of times people don't realize that when you go to a relationship therapist or family therapist, they're not always trained in the sex and intimacy piece. And like that kept coming up for them that no one's talking about this pretty big part of our intimate relationship or like even wanting to have those other conversations are, you know, maybe triggering in a relationship. And so they started to come up with this method called the Somatica method. So it's a mix of talk-based therapy, essentially, not therapy, coaching.
Okay.
It's different than therapy because it goes a little bit more, I think of it as more like forward-facing. Like, so we're not rehashing so much of the past with this coaching. Like there is talking about it a little bit, but it's a lot more moving forward of like right now to how do we want the future to kind of look.
Yeah.
But it's more about talking, and then we do what we call like somatic exercises. So we really go into an experience together, whether it's having the conversation in real life, in real time, and feeling what that actually feels like in our sessions, essentially. So that could be, I want to practice like being vulnerable, and we see what kind of comes up rather than like doing it maybe with a partner or a friend and not being able to understand what those emotions are that are coming up. Some of them are a lot more intimate. I would say some of the exercises, I guess, that they teach, some of it's like self-touch and learning how to like touch ourselves for our own pleasure and having those conversations. So it's quite big.
Yeah. And that all takes place like in the course you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we did a lot of intimate things.
I'm very impressed because I would have been like beet red, turning my camera off. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. That's why I think it takes 2 years. So I did through the program twice. So you go through it once where you're like a student, essentially. And so you have to have these intimate conversations with a stranger. And some of them are like eye gazing, which is really like intimate. It's not over Zoom as much, but like
still
some of it, it's like, I'm going to compliment you. And then you're going to have to receive that compliment. And like, for some reason, that feels really uncomfortable. And we're taught to like deflect or do whatever. And
like,
so,
oh, no, I'm not great.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And some were a lot more like intimate and asking about your fantasies or things like more related to that end of it. We touch on gender and like, I'm not as versed in that, but like some of the people that were practicing want to like do more like gender studies. So they're exploring gender norms and like what feels actually good in your body rather than what you were told. And so that even plays a role in some of this work too. So it's quite big.
Yeah.
I would say.
So when you're coaching other people, do you do it one-on-one? Do you do couples together? Is it a mix?
So right now, because I'm still in like the early stages of my coaching, I usually just do one-to-one work. That's why I loved my photography work, because I got to work one-to-one with people. And so right now I'm loving the one-to-one work. I wouldn't mind working with couples or someone that's in a relationship necessarily, but I haven't had that chance quite yet. And I think it would depend on the couple, because it is, a really different dynamic when you're working with two people and their feelings and their vulnerabilities and their, past experiences, and bringing them into the same room. So I haven't dove quite into that yet. I am open to it depending on the couple. And I think it's all a feel in any of this work. It's like, do we vibe well together? And if someone came to me and didn't want to, I'd be like, there's like hundreds of us that I could like refer people to at the same time. So
I imagine that would get a little bit awkward for you. Like in the middle of a relationship situation.
So. In my photography work, I do work with couples sometimes. So there's some pieces that I feel like I could do that. But it's a little definitely more challenging, I would say.
So cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get, right into my situation.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Like having children, it completely changes the stage of life that you're in. And I mean, anyone listening, you're like, yeah, duh, of course it does.
Yeah. I'm in it. I feel it.
But, it's like the kids are in your bed in the middle of the night. They won't go to sleep. I mean, you're just exhausted from the day. I would say, like, by the time the kids are in their beds for like their first round of asleep, whatever that means, until they wake up. And you have to clean the kitchen and do the lunches and all that kind of stuff, and just make sure, like, I always have to make sure the living room's clean because otherwise my anxiety. So it's like you go through all those things and then you're like, okay, well, now we're going to sit down on the couch for 10 minutes and I'm going to look at you and say, okay, the day was this and tomorrow we got this and I'm out. Like, I want to go lay down. I want to go read a book. I want to just be by myself. And we do scheduled date nights and not as often as we should. So like maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks or whatever. Yeah. But it seems so like cold that we have to like put it on the calendar. But if we didn't, it just wouldn't happen. Yeah, we wouldn't get the childcare. We wouldn't like make the time or the reservation or whatever to get away and like connect with each other. But I would say on most days, intimacy and connecting with my partner is the last thing on my mind. I'm like, I just survived another day. Yeah. So. My question for you.
That's it, though. I feel like with kids, it's tough. It's a whole other layer of navigating, especially depending on what level of stage of childhood you're in. And so
I almost think it was easier when they were like babies.
Yeah.
And like now it's harder because they're like little people.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, my first question is like, is this something you hear a lot from your clients? And then like, how do you help someone like me who's caught in that loop of just like making it through the day and not having that energy?
Well, okay. The first thing I think is awesome that you guys I know it feels cold to schedule like date night, but something someone said to me recently just rang true and gave me a different perspective on that I thought was really good. And it was that when we were dating our partners, we made date nights. We made dates with them. And it was like, we're scheduling intimacy when we are scheduling a date, when we're first meeting that person and we're getting to know them. And yet then we get into like, okay, now we're living together and like, we're doing whatever, we're in our like routine and we created our life. And then to go back to being like, oh, we have to do this thing and schedule like intimacy or time to like connect like this. It's like, but that's what we actually started with in the beginning.
That's so valid.
And so like that actually helped me a lot because I like the spontaneity of like, oh, we can do whatever, whenever. But in this current relationship, we never had that because we always had our own kids. And so like I think about that often of how do you create that feeling of first dating and you're actually kind of doing it. So like I'll applaud you there. Okay, I guess you just have to think of it a little
I was going to say, let me go ahead and reframe that in my head. So, and I know it's a good thing that we do it. It's just sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel bad that we can't like figure this out without putting it on the calendar.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's I do think there is like a bad rap. Like that makes me think about too is what is your desire come from like wanting that date? Like are you desiring to connect or is it like, oh, we just have to do this because this is what good people in marriages do?
Oh, I mean, it's the desire to connect. Like, because we don't have that normally. So, yeah.
Which is good.
I was going to say, so we're not over the edge yet.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's good. I imagine, right? But yeah, I think give yourself a little bit of reframe and like maybe the dates feel, I mean, it sounds like the dates feel fun when you are able to have them.
They are always fun, yes.
Yeah.
I will keep this PG.
Yeah. I will too. I will try.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good because you're coming off of like 2.5, 3 hours of like being alone and, you know, having some drinks and having a meal without someone interrupting you and being able to like share maybe. It's funny you say like this is how it was when you first started dating because it was. And we used to have Tuesday date nights. And I remember we would see each other, talk to each other, but like he would save up conversation for a date night.
Yeah.
And like sometimes he'll still come in with like, oh, I knew we were going out, so I was saving. And so like that is special and you know, intimate and all that. So yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Sounds like you're doing great. But maybe it sounds like, you know, sometimes like wanting to sprinkle in of like, okay, how can we bring this in more regularly rather in daily life. And
exactly.
I think that is challenging depending on like where you are in, you know, parenthood. Parenthood can be really exhausting.
Yeah.
So something that I started to do with my partner is I think it's like the little things, right? Like we talk about like how that person wants to feel when they walk in the door from you, I think is something to think about is like, I know my partner's like, if the house is clean, I feel really loved and cared for, where like, that's not something I personally am like, I don't need that, but I know that's like his thing.
Yeah.
And like, so to me, I'm like, that like cleans up time for us to have maybe 10 minutes again, like at the end of the night to snuggle and have that kind of just, I took that off your plate so we can connect more, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to like, those are like the love languages, right? Like kind of knowing them for each other a little bit. I think it's kind of nice.
I do know mine are. My love language is act of service. Yeah. I was like, you could wash all the dishes and like, I'm very happy.
You're like, I'm tingling.
What, the kitchen's clean?
I know. I know. And it's funny because that's like how my partner is too. And I'm like, but that would do nothing for me. And I'm like, I want you to like come and like wrap me up or something like that. Right. And so I think that comes into just like part of those intimate conversations of like, how do you want to like connect with me? And maybe it's like checking in, just having a check-in. I know that's something I'm big on is like, how do we?
I'm like typing that. Normally I don't do this. Yeah. I'm going to do this.
I can send you a text later. But just being like, how can I love on you more this week? And because we don't know always what our partners are going through, especially like emotionally, like, so if we're carrying stuff of like, hey, I'm feeling really burnt out, like I could really use this and that's going to make me feel really loved rather than being like from a place of lack and saying like, I have no bandwidth, you need to help me, like no one responds well to like those kind of demands, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think when we can present it of, hey, I'm feeling, this is hard to say, like I'm feeling low but I know you're my support and like you can help me with this. Makes it feel like more of a team, I think, too. Especially as moms, I think we like to take everything on and do it all. I think that's a good practice for us as moms to be like, I have a guy here that is my partner and I'm going to depend on him too. And that's okay. And he might not do it the same way I do it because I think that's part of it.
Oh, but, I've been working on that for years. And I think too, like thinking, oh, I'm a failure. I couldn't do it all, you know? So there's that.
Yeah.
But another big question I had for you was...
Keep them coming.
So I feel like women are so much more cerebral when it comes to intimacy and sex. And I feel like guys could just like flip a switch and like, okay, everything's fine.
Yeah.
But if like something's going on or I'm tired or I got like the to-do list running through my brain, like it's a lot harder to get into that space.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm simplifying that, you know, men can just get ready to go anytime or like they always crave intimacy. But how do you free up that mental space in your head to like get there and are men really that simple? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like twofold.
Yeah. I don't know about men. I mean, I do, but like, and I think for some of them, it is as simple as like flipping a switch. But I do know they also have, their own to-do lists, I think, that run through their heads and tiredness and stuff like that. But
very valid. I shouldn't get down on any
yeah.
I take that back and I apologize.
I think like you were kind of coming back to like, I wish I could do it all. And I think men don't have that maybe as often. I don't know, maybe. And I think they're okay. Maybe if all that stuff is. And I'm not speaking for all men. That's like a big generalization and stuff, but maybe their priorities feel a little bit different, where like that intimacy feels a little bit higher on their priority list potentially for them.
Right, where it's like at the bottom of my list just by the nature of all the things I have to care for.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. And something like I've been asking myself lately, because I've been honestly in this, not with my partner, but with myself, of like, I just feel like I can't get past this workload, all these tabs open in my head. And like, then it's like this, okay, I'm feeling contracted in my body. But something I've been doing, and it's helped me a lot, especially like I think in my relationship too, is what's going to feel good to me right now. And I ask myself that almost every morning, or like when I'm starting to feel sluggish in the morning, I'm like, okay, what's going to feel good to me right now? Is it going to be to unload these dishes, or is it going to be to like go have a cup of coffee on the front porch? Or, maybe it is to like have 10 minutes with my partner in the morning before we're doing all this stuff and I'm tired at the end of the day. It's something I've been trying to practice myself, because we forget about our own pleasure. The whole point of living is to experience joy, right?
Yeah.
Like, and to remember that, instead of, okay, if I get all this stuff done, I'll experience joy. But like, we can experience joy before we finish all of the things, I think.
That's so valid.
And but we aren't really taught that, right? So we have to really retrain ourselves to being like pleasure first, and the other stuff will come, and we'll check it all off and whatnot, probably, and maybe not. But there is something, especially for women, I think we do require more time to get to that place of wanting to be intimate, maybe with a partner. Maybe that is because we're like so in our heads. So something simple I think women can do is, if breath work works a little bit for them, to try to clear that out. Just taking a few minutes to just be like, okay, I know there's a lot going on, but like, what's actually happening in my body? Where am I tense? So is it my jaw, my heart, my hips? And just taking the time to like connect with those body parts, I think can give us a lot of indication of where maybe we're feeling stagnant, or like, okay, I didn't even notice my hip hurt because I've been thinking all day about this, or I haven't even taken a deep breath even today. I think those are really, simple things. And also communicating what your desire is. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be sex. It could just be like, I really want you to rub my back.
I was going to say rub my feet.
Can you just rub my feet? And if that leads to something, okay. I heard this one sex coach talking about how like her and her husband will like make out every day. And like, but it doesn't lead to like sex. They like won't do it in the bedroom. It'll just be like somewhere in the house. And I'm like, that's an interesting take on it. But they're like, we won't let it lead to anything else, because we want to like enjoy that intimacy together of like kissing each other and taking the pressure off of having to be like, okay, now we have to have sex after this.
Well, that's kind of like what I was thinking as you were saying that. I was like, I don't ever remember, I mean, when we were dating, but like now, like I don't ever remember a time where it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to make out and that's going to be it. Like, it's like, no, the make out means that something else is happening. And it's like, they're right. It's that pressure. And it's like, okay, well, if I don't have the capacity for that, I'm not even going to make out with you, because I don't want that right now. So yeah, it's a mind F, I feel.
It really is. Well, we think we're like, well, we already did it. So like, obviously that's what we're going to do. And it doesn't always have to look like that, right? So
having that discussion.
Yeah.
Well, that's new information for me. I'll take that one.
Good. Yeah, you don't have to have sex. You can just make out with your husband if you want to.
Who knew?
I know. It's mind-blowing.
I needed somebody to tell me that. Yeah, and I think like along the same lines, it's almost like I feel disappointed in myself or like shameful, or I feel like, I'm letting him down because I'm carrying all this mental load, and I just want less of that, like I have kids touching me all day and like needing something, and it's like that overstimulation. And so it's like, this is not something he's ever said to me. This is in my own head. And like, I know that to be true, but like, I don't know how to overcome that pressure I'm putting on myself and just feeling like, again, I'm failing you now. Like, not only am I failing over here, like now I'm disappointing you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that's something like I do with clients is like sitting in disappointment. Like, how often do we actually sit in the disappointment? And there is a time I'm going to disappoint you. And how does that feel? And taking notice of like, well, what's actually coming up for me? Maybe there's a memory of disappointing someone and you're like, I don't want that feeling. And so that's a lot of times the coaching is like, we're going to sit with that for a little while and untangle it, give it time to be felt and seen, because a lot of times these things are stored in our bodies and they just haven't been able to be processed. And so they can like create more space, not just in our bodies, but in our heads, when we're like, oh, I don't have to even like think about that as much anymore. Not to say it won't ever come up again, but like noticing like, this happens and then I feel this constraint, and having that relationship with your body rather than like, this is just a story I'm telling myself consistently. So
yeah, that's deep.
Yeah. I do go kind of deep.
No, that's good. I like that. I'm going to sit with that.
Yeah.
Sit with that.
We can talk. We can talk another time.
For sure. This conversation won't be over.
Yes.
Maybe for you listeners. Okay. So last thing I wanted to talk about was your photography.
Sure.
I stalked your page for a little bit. I was checking out the Instagram and I'm like, man, these women are stunning. And it's like all body shapes and types and whatever. And they just look gorgeous. And I'm like, clearly that's you. So how do you like, okay, so many questions. Like, how does it work? Who picks the outfits and the poses? And then like, how do you get them to just flourish?
Do their thing.
Yeah. Yo, it's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad that's, cool.
Yeah.
I'm like speechless.
I was saying before we started recording, one day I will have the balls to do that.
Yeah.
But we're just going to work up to that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of what people say, right? They're like, I just don't have the confidence to do that anymore. And I will tell you, every woman, just about everyone that walks in that door is like so scared and so nervous. And they're like, I've never done anything like this before. I got the nudge to do it. And I'm like, they're not confident yet. They're being brave doing this. The confidence kind of comes after, when they're walking out the door and they're like, I'm on cloud 9 right now and I feel like unstoppable. But like, I would say most of them don't come in feeling confident. And I think that's part of the work that people see is, damn, that girl looks confident. And it's like, yeah, because she's like embodying confidence at that point. Okay. She said yes in the beginning and then she was brave there. But yeah, so we start all of our shoots off with them coming in to get their hair and makeup done, which is, I think, an important piece, not just to like, feel good, but like to take that time to just, especially as moms, I have them all do that, even if they're like, I don't wear a lot of makeup, I don't get my hair done, I don't really want all of that. But to me, especially because most of them that come in are moms, I'm like, yeah, but you never had anyone just take care of you for 45 minutes. And that kind of touch, like a different kind of touch that's like holding you, I think is really powerful and different. So I always try to convince them. And most, I would say 99% of people get everything done anyways, but they are able to take that time to just like, they could talk to us. They could also sit there in silence and just enjoy that. Because like, I know for me, when I get a massage, I'm like, please do not talk to me. Same. Like, it's not you. It's totally me. I just haven't not had this.
Yep, get that.
Yeah. So I usually recommend them to do that. I also tell them to bring whatever wardrobe they want with them, but they have access to my client closet. So I have a range of outfits from extra, extra small to 4X. So a lot of range and like sizes. I always also recommend them to like go shopping, because this is also a chance for them to buy something new for themselves, to gift themselves something that feels good before the photo shoot. And then I go over with them like what they're going to experience. I feel I've done like breath work with some clients before. Like I tell them that this is their shoot and that we can do whatever they want to do. And so like if I suggest something, they can say no, which I think is huge. Like with this is to have consent, and we don't always get places where we can say no. And with especially little children, saying no can be really big pushback, I think, sometimes. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's nice to like give them a space to feel beautiful and feel sexy, but connect with their bodies. So the whole time I'm like telling them a lot to use their hands like on their body to like bring them from like maybe their neck down to their hips, because they've never taken that time to slowly touch their skin.
Right.
And so it is a little bit of a somatic experience, I think, with the posing. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a lot of the creating the environment. Like the environment I try to create for them is sacred and safe. And that's what we try to do, starting them wherever they want to, because some people are like, down here, like I want to take it all off. And then I have other people that are like, I'm going to wear all of my clothes. And it's like, you can do whatever you want. I don't really care. So starting wherever they feel good and ending wherever, I try to like get them to an edge. So like they feel like they did something that's, new and growing. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
so fun.
Someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I did see on one of your posts, you were talking about relationship, love, money, and sex, and how they're all on the same frequency.
Oh, yeah.
And like that was super intriguing to me, and like how you can tap into that to bring more abundance.
Yeah.
So this is the last thing I'm going to ask you, and then we can wrap up. But
Sure.
like, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, sure. So I actually just finished teaching a little bit of a class on the intimacy of business, just like how we can the same energy that we put into our businesses and having an intimate connection with our business is the same as like what we do in dating, and it kind of all comes from the same place. So I would say the connection between sex, money, business, relationships is how we date. Okay. So like if we're dating someone and we're like nagging at them, we're not really able to receive that relationship so much. Like how can we create a draw to receiving what that person wants to give us? How do we feel worthy in our business to get clients that are our ideal clients or dream clients? A lot of times we hear right now is like, how do we align with them rather than a place of lack, right? When we're in our businesses and we're like, well, we just need to creating the money, right? And like, that's not sexy. That doesn't feel probably is good. And it takes us in that space of being more scarce, right? So when we're in scarcity, we're not able to fully open up our hearts and receive. And I think that happens a lot with people that are dating and they're like, there's nobody out here, right? Like to date, especially if you're a single mom and you're like, how do I find somebody after, like going through it at the same time? And I think that's working on how am I able to receive in my heart? So do I feel like I'm actually, if I met this person tomorrow, do you think I could actually like bring them into my life? Do you think I can receive that person that is going to support me and love my kids and, want to have this life with me? Because it takes sometimes that work of like, maybe I'm not ready for it yet.
Yeah.
How can I do that internal work to be like, oh, I am open to someone else, bearing this with me?
Yeah.
Because especially if you're a single mom, like that might be hard. If you're not a single mom, that might be hard.
Sorry, there's a
I see them.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
And the same I think is in business. Like if you have a client that comes to you and they're like, I want to spend $10K with you or whatever. I know that's like a big number of people like throw around is like, but I want to spend a lot of money with you and have that connection with you. Is like, can I actually hold that? Can I receive a client that wants so much from me?
Right.
Do I have that kind of capacity? So that's when I talk about that it is sort of in the same frequency, because do I feel worthy to have this person in my life? Do I feel worthy of the money maybe that I have like shame around? Or maybe I have an idea of what money actually looks like, or a relationship or business or whatever it may be. So I go kind of deep into it. I can try to skim the surface here.
No, that's That's amazing. And it reminds me of what I've been learning recently in like this coaching program that I'm actually in right now for launching a business. It's the be, do, have. So you start with the be, like, what do you want to embody? Exactly like what you're saying. And then the have will come.
Yeah.
It's like you don't start with, I need to do this to have that. It's like, no, you be it, embody it.
Yeah, so, that's true. I work with someone that has a lot of the same methodologies. Like, how do I be the woman that holds all of the things that I want to hold, and how can I be her before receiving them, because then it becomes this place of constriction of like, I got the thing that I wanted, but I haven't even processed like who that woman is yet. And then it's like, is that really the woman I want to even be, so it's actually a great way to like scale and to create a business or level up. Every time you are leveling up is like, how can I be her before I am her? Yeah,
that totally resonates with me. It might be a little like on the woo-woo side for some people, but I'm all in on that. So.
I get a little woo. I like a little bit of both. I like to have both.
Yeah, totally.
Tangibility.
Yep.
All the other stuff.
Yeah, the vibing.
Yes.
Right? Totally. Yeah, so this was amazing. Thank you. So where can our listeners get a hold of you? And if they want to work with you, how do they connect?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Bare, like naked bear, like Bare, not like the animal, by Barrile. My last name is Barrile, not sounds like it's spelled, but at Bare by Barrile is my Instagram. I have a Facebook that I restart a million different times because they don't like me talking about this stuff. So it's okay. I'm getting a website now. So, and it's barebybarrile.com. You can shoot me a message if you're interested in coaching or boudoir. And I have combinations of both of them where I work with people for a few months in coaching, and then we do a photo shoot kind of as like a celebration.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will include all your information in the show notes of this episode. Thank you for being here. This was an awesome conversation.
So
I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for listening as always. And, share with your millennial mom friends. Thanks for tuning in to Momming as a Millennial. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend or on social. You can find more from me at contemplativemama.com. Until next time.